time when the railroad did not run, when the wild, majestic mountains stood alone against the sun. Long before the white man and long before the wheel, when the green dark forest was too silent to be real.
Francis Whitaker began his love affair with the hammer and anvil at the ripe old age of 15 while apprenticing for a famous Philadelphia ironworker. As the saying goes, he never looked back.
The first time I took a piece of iron out of the fire and started to forge it on the anvil, I knew that was what I wanted to do.
Whitaker says his greatest assets as a blacksmith are his hands, but there's quite a bit more to mastering this craft.
It's a mixture. It's physical strength for one thing, at least in the arms and the upper body. You could probably do it from a wheelchair. It takes artistic ability. It takes a lot of determination because the material is very stubborn. And if you don't master it, it masters you.
Also, it doesn't hurt to be a good businessman. Whitaker's custom projects over the years have included a fireplace for John Denver and a gate for Exodus author Leon Uris. Whitaker says he isn't surprised by the renewed interest in his craft.
There's been a big revival among craftspersons, not only in blacksmithing, but wood carving, pottery, weaving, all of those things, jewelry, and I think there's an increasing interest among the public. I have the feeling from my own experience that people are tired of things that fall apart before they get them home, and they appreciate things that have quality, because the Industrial Revolution was great for a while, and then it went off the deep end, and it turns out an awful lot of junk.
What are some of the things that you make, that you create in your shop, in your forge?
Lots of fireplace tools, fire screens, hand irons, gates, railings, door hardware, chandeliers, as you saw the chandelier that just came in. In the trade, I'm classified as a housesmith because the work I do is on houses. There are other smiths that do the structural work. There are other smiths that do tool making. There are other smiths that do things in the shipyards and the railroad yards. But I'm the housesmith. The fireplace tools that I make, there's nothing that come unscrewed or come off. The shovels are forged out of one piece. They won't bend or break. They last forever. I think that there's a satisfaction in creating something with your own hands, and in many cases one of a kind, and having a satisfying relationship with clients that I still love it. I wouldn't want to, if I have to have a computer to run my business, I'll close up.
Do you ever wish that you'd gotten into a profession that you didn't have to get your hands dirty?
No. I like to get my hands clean on vacation, but I don't mind. I went to the post office the other day, and the clerk said, "How do you get so dirty?" Well, that's the way it is. I never saw a clean blacksmith.
You've done it over half a century already. How long are you going to continue being a blacksmith?
I want to die with a hammer in my hand. This is one of the set of many fireplace tools that I made during the years in Aspen. Sometimes the condominiums would want 50 sets of fireplace tools, grates, and fire screens. It was a busy time. This is a special handle that someone designed. This was very interesting. You'll see later a fire screen for the same house. This is one of the triple twists that I used on the fireplace tools, and I tried it on the andirons for the first time. Many varieties of andirons. I like the one with a big forge welded knob on the top. Here's the fire screen. Curiously enough, in France, I found this identical pattern. So Smiths across the world have things in common. I like the little detail of the animal head on the base for this fireplace screen. In the years in Carmel for Luckenbach, the Luckenbach Steamship Company. This is a fireplace hood for the Bank of Aspen, who was so big I had to get a forklift to carry it on site. One of many pieces I made for a convent in Stockton, very skillfully sketched with yellow crayon and black crayon, very simple drawings. One of my favorites, the big tall one with the tripod leg, made for an old friend of mine in Carmel. This is in the shop in Aspen with a spiral candle holder, one piece spiraling up. This was using some retorts that were used in the silver mining days to analyze the weight of the silver. In the very bottom, you can see an upset corner, but not on a 90 degree. That's much more difficult. One of the many signs I made for the Youth City Bank in Aspen. The foreign fellows function applies here. This was for a condominium, and they wanted the Alphorn. Set of big barn door hinges. Lots of the door hardware. The slide bolt I worked out a way for a concealed spring on the back. This is, I think, Picasso's Dove of Peace. Someone brought the drawing in, and I made the door knocker for it. This was a most interesting job. 53 pair of door handles for one house. All different. They're pretty much the same, but there's different decoration on the handle part and different decoration on the leaf part. It was a real fun job. Another set of door hardware, hinge, latch, slide bolt. Oh, this was a fancy decoration for the bank in Aspen. A lot of welding on it. An interesting cross. I've never seen a cross quite like that. A gate for a home in Aspen. I like this scrolly work, something I have very seldom done before. Another entrance gate with the little dog bars down below to keep dogs from coming through. A large entrance gate, pair of doors. This was a divider on a balcony in a big home in Aspen. A gate for someone with the first name, the surname beginning with D, or the stylized D on the top. Lots of the iron fences around. This was the Santa Catalina School in Monterey. 3/4 square with the diamond and the twist. All sorts of decorations on that. A divider that went underneath a sloping staircase to close off the opening. This was for the Bass House in Breckenridge. Railings, chandeliers, curved railings. One of the huge jobs that I had there. An interesting table using a marble bathroom sink top. This was a finial on a house in Aspen, way up on the top of a turret. One of the very simple light fixtures. The Mexican glass was made a nice decoration. Where did I do that entrance rail? I've forgotten. One of the things I tell my students, I wish I could remember everything I know. An unusual set of fireplace tools with the spiral wrap around for the handle. And this was a variation on the Tampa twist with the 4 twisted bars alternating right and left. A large head for andirons. The 4 scrolls were not split off. They were jump welded on the back of the hood of the head. Fire screen was little brass decorated scrolls instead of iron scrolls. I like the arched top. Another fire screen with a different decorative pattern on it. Lots of times people will bring in an idea and I'll translate it into good ironwork. There's a detail of the scroll work, and you see the little animal head at the top of the handle. Fun job. This man loved the diamond plate, so I made a self-contained fireplace out of diamond plate for him. Those were very efficient fireplaces. Unfortunately, they're now outlawed. This is one for John Denver, all out of copper. And I designed a fire brick lining support so the fire brick just slipped inside. A 7-branch candelabra with a very elaborate base on it. Oh, one of my favorites with the little glass shades. I like the scroll candle holder. You can either put that in, or you can remove the glass and put in a candle this way. Very flexible. You can make all sorts of combinations of candles in them. Another free-form candle holder with some glass globes that I picked up at a decorator's store. The same base as one of the earlier ones. A sign for someone who was very fond of skating. Heiscapades. I like that fishnet. Someone who was very fond of salmon fishing. The fish itself was made of aluminum sheet, Red Crusade. A sign for a wine cellar for a customer in Baltimore, Maryland. The grates were repoussed from the back. There's another set of door hardware and candlesticks. This is one of my favorite knockers with the ends on the back plate and the horns. Makes a very attractive knocker. And it works. This is more of a 53 pair of door handles and slide bolts in the house in Breckenridge. As you can see, they're quite similar in size and proportion, but every single one of them has a variation. These are the larger ones. One of them is for the entrance, for several of them for the entrance gate. Another glass pierced door handle. The one on the right is for the front door. The one on the left is for the inside of the front door. I can't remember what that was for. Oh, it was a brace for a screen door. There were little tabs forged on the ends of all the scrolls that fastened. A locksmith wanted a sign to indicate his shop, so I made him a large key. A nativity scene. Some of these go back so far I've forgotten when and where they were made. All sheet metal with a nice sheet metal frame. This was a railing made at Southern Illinois University at a workshop I did there, I think in '76. A large gate for the Lee House in Aspen. I worked out a very detailed method of tapping and screwing the ballast together. This was for the Aspen Institute, frankly, quite modern. I did a lot of the modern work in conjunction with the traditional because the demand was there and the style of architecture. This is another photo of the balcony divider on a condominium. There's a hinged door on the left. All the rest of it was scroll work. A lot of jump welding on the scrolls. This went back to California. A nice gate with all traditional work. There's a detail of a railing with lap joints where the two are forged on the die so they fit together, and then a little rosette riveted over the joint. Very modern, contemporary staircase. Freestanding. The supports went clear up to the ceiling to help support the rail. This is a railing around the building that was added to the Mountain Forge at Aspen with a special winter finish on it. One of many coffee tables. I like the decorative double offset feature on the bottom of the legs. Another coffee table, a simple round glass top that set on there. I found some nice two-way rubber stickers that I put on the top of the scrolls to hold the glass. This was the final finial on the top of the Lee house. And I found some nice copper toilet bowls to use. A very wild hanging chandelier. I used a lot of the bottles with the ends cut off. A friend who had a restaurant saved the bottles and cut the ends off. Oh my goodness. I think I'm getting to the end of my work now and to work abroad. I believe this one is in Spain. Yes. This was on one of my first European trips in Spain. Very beautiful diamond pattern in the balusters there. Many, many balconies. The 16th, 17th, 18th centuries were times of the greatest wrought iron work, I think, in man's history. Endless balconies. I stood on a square once in Spain, in a city in Spain, and counted 400 balconies around the square. Window grill. I'm sure this is in Spain. Yes. It was interesting to see from one province to another the different styles, because travel was not as rapid. There was no movies, there was no television, there was no VCRs, and the styles that were developed in one part of the country didn't move very fast. I could almost tell which part of Spain I was in by looking at the ironwork and particularly the crusting on top of the window grills. Beautiful door window grills with a nice scroll decoration all around the edges there. There's some very heavy balusters. More of Spain. I envy those people working with good wrought iron. This is my daughter-in-law looking at the door knocker and the forged iron bosses on one of the back side of the cathedral doors. A huge door handle and set on an angle, which is unusual, but it worked. It made a nice grip. I think that one was about 1.25 inches square. A nice square balcony. We spent all of our time in the northwest quarter of Spain, and it was there that I found an amazing amount of beautiful ironwork. A lot of nice jump welding on those, on the intermediate spears and also on the spears on the top. Simple but very effective. I tried to keep a record of every single bit of ironwork that I saw on this trip. There's another very fine grill and lots of those bosses on the woodwork. A finial on a fountain. I can't remember all the cities where we were, but Burgos, Toledo, Seville, a nice typical traditional Spanish ring door knocker. The decorative work in the center there was typical, and you can see the very heavy balusters at the top and bottom. This was an entrance to one of the palaces that was open to the public. Beautiful cresting. Again, the woodwork and the stonework that was the background for this ironwork was equally beautiful. There's a detail of the stonework on that same building. Nice flowing pattern for the balcony. Very unusual to get away from the typical verticals which you see on this balcony. There's an example of one house with 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the center a big window enclosure. Another variation from the vertical balusters in the balcony rail. Miles and miles of fencing. And you can see how narrow the sidewalks were, and in a lot of places cars would park half on that sidewalk. You really had to duck. This is one of the things that I have never successfully accomplished, is piercing on the diamond. Oh, that's a little door brace to keep the door from sagging, incorporated with the door pull. Very simple little window protector. At that time I did not have the type of camera I now have with the variable focus lens. I wish I'd had that along. Very solid work. Those were 1/8 square bars. These were 1/8 square bars. Very heavy work. A particularly nice lamp bracket over a store. A lot of nice details in it. A lot of good forge welding. There's one with a nice design. I like that one in particular. A great big widow's walk on top of a church tower. You can see through the trees at the bottom there's another balcony all the way around. This was in a different province, and you can see the style of the ironwork has changed from one place to another. A lot of reverse scrolls. This was in one of the churches. There's another one. The first bars that are horizontal are on the square. The verticals are on the diamond. That's not so difficult. Simple balcony, but the bolt out bottom gives it a particularly nice, graceful appearance. That's about as simple as you can get. That was 1.25 inches square with these little tapered scrolls. Here's a split off. Another one with the same, probably made by the same person, with those reverse scrolls interlocking. A very fancy one, a sign bracket, and you can see on all the windows little window grills. Flower pot holders. This was a combination of wrought iron and cast, which I found very seldom in Spain. Interesting little arch across a gate opening. Lots of forge welding there. Nice diagonal pattern. Those were half joints, apparently sawed out or forged out very carefully. A most elaborate archway over the entrance gate. Very fancy braces for this canopy. This was in front of the hotel where we stayed in one of the Spanish cities. Very seldom did I find any ironwork other than black, but this one was, except for the gold leaf, which you see in that one. Very elaborate, intricate, difficult, well designed, well executed. I could not tell whether these were cast or forged or a combination of the two. An unusual pattern for a door grill, almost modern, with a little cross in the center. Lots of different combinations. I found this quarter of Spain was probably the most rewarding in ironwork. I think also that the coal mines and the iron mines were in this section of Spain too. Rather modern window protector. The flash didn't help any on that one. Sorry about that. A great, big, heavy door lock and handle. You see the keyhole down below. Again, the accompanying stonework was also so beautiful. That was a very heavy, formal one. Nice little bracket for an overhanging glass roof. I suspect that this was a more recent piece because it's too simple. There's one, all gold leafed. And the gold leaf was used a lot in the cathedrals and the pieces. Now, this looks to me as though it may be in Switzerland. We loop back through Switzerland. Yeah, oh. This is one of my favorites taken from the balcony of my apartment. Again, a very elaborate, great gate. Very simple stair railing on top of a parapet, which makes for having a very simple low railing. This was an example of very fine jump forge welding. All those scrolls were jump welded on. Lots of beautiful grates. This is now in Charleston, South Carolina. We're wandering around the world. That's why I call these ironwork around the world. Very beautiful pattern there. Charleston is one of the great museums of wrought ironwork in this country. Now, somehow we got back to Spain. I think this was the square where I counted 400 balconies. I can't place that one, but very nice. This is in New Zealand. The New Zealanders, yes. The New Zealanders had excellent Scotch blacksmiths, excellent coal, excellent iron ore. And they loved to do a lot of forge welding, as you can see from the scrolls there. Rather formal entrance gate. Oh, that shows, I think this was a hotel. There are lots of canopies in this rainy country with long supports from the building holding the canopy to protect the sidewalk. A combination of wrought iron and cast iron. And notice the New Zealanders were not afraid of color. Every color of the rainbow. White, orange, blue. There's a soft blue. Very fine construction on that gate. Some nice, very heavy decorative hinges. One of the churches. There's another gate painted white with very nice scroll work and dog bars. You see the dog bars almost everywhere at the bottom. Beautiful gardens in addition to the beautiful ironwork. Here are driveway gates. Very colorful houses too. Very elaborate sign for, this was a tea house. A little bit of gold leaf on that. See, gold leaf here and there. Lots of nice sign brackets. Now, this is back in the Golden Lion. This must be back in Switzerland. There's the Maroon Bells in Pearl, just a little bit out of Aston. Nice diamond pattern there. This is something that was very rare, was any pierced iron. Lots of scroll work, but very little pierced iron. An ancient door with big nail heads and a door knocker. Again, that same diagonal diamond pattern. That was also made on the diamond. Another door with very decorative bosses and door knocker. Detail of all the very elaborate groove work that was done on the frame. Combination of wrought iron and cast iron. Very nice window grill. Again, cast iron and wrought iron. Nice pattern using the flat bar twisted at right angles. Gate to a cemetery. This looks like Charleston, South Carolina, the diagonal lattice work, yes. This is Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston is almost exclusively wrought iron. Savannah is half wrought, half cast. New Orleans is almost exclusively cast iron. This, I'm sure, is in New Zealand because of the green paint. Yeah, this is the entrance to one of the hotels where we stayed. With a nice little pierced patterns every so often. And lots of color. This was, I believe, on the Bank of New Zealand. Very nice forged welded patterns. I could not tell, but I photographed it anyway. This was on the New Zealand Railroad, whether that was cast or gold leafed. There are the balconies and the decorative braces supporting the balconies. Detail of the hinge on a big gate. Very colorful cities there. It was a pleasure to go around and see such cheerful, maybe they did it because it rained so much. Fire escape. Very beautiful hinges. They were painted so I could not tell, but I'm sure those are all forged welded connections. Speaking of color, nowhere else in the world have I seen such colorful, beautiful wrought iron work. Very difficult with those pierced half circles. That was a private residence. As old Father Time. Very fancy. This looks like a Germanic country. I think so. This looked as though it were Le Poussé. This is definitely gold-leafed, with a lot of intricate little scrollwork and leaves for a bar. Another sign for a bar. Look at the little detail on the bottom of the rail, how it's decorated. Oh, a stork's nest. Unusual treatment, I guess, with a fuller from opposite sides. I think those were cast sleeves on there. Decorative door to a big home. Some very elaborate rosettes. These were the most elaborate that I saw anywhere. Pierced and repoussé. A fine piece of grillwork. More balconies. This was one of the very elaborate ones. Close-up of the hinge pintle almost falling apart. Endless balconies. Very nice. Those were forged. They were very nicely forged. One with a addition of flowers to make it more cheerful. A little detail of a door handle. They loved the balconies all over Europe. This was a pattern I had never seen before, with the almost full circle. Very difficult, detailed dentils on this one. Unusual step on the handrail. I don't think it would be very practical. So you're beginning to see how much, that's 1886, 19th century. You can see how all over the world the ironwork was used very well. That was see the little half moon plate at the bottom of the door knocker there. This was really a balcony room sticking out. This is in France again. Very formal decorations, more elaborate bosses. Some of them were missing. Combination of wrought iron and cast iron, but very nicely done. You can see the fanciful details in that one. This very simple. I found that the secondary rail sets the pattern off very nicely. I had to wait. This was a very narrow street. I had to wait till the sun was on it, and the sun only stayed there. This is one of the famous grills. The sun only stayed there for about a half an hour. That's the shell house. Nice sign bracket. These are the rooftops in Carcassonne, France. Little peephole with door knocker, huge andirons, 1.25 inch square, with a big collar welded on the top. One of the anvils I found sitting outside, the old German pattern, elaborate door hinges. Nice detail of some unusual scrollwork. That's one of the nicer fanlights. We may be getting into Scandinavia now. Don't remember that one. This was in one of the cathedrals. Blacksmiths had a lot of fun in those days. Look at all the detail in that. You wonder how it was put together. There's a detail of a pierced bar which was flame cut out of 3/4 plate. The holes were not pierced. They were flame cut, which gave them that sharp outside corner. You get an idea from the human figure of the scale of those grills. Yeah. I think these were in Scandinavia. No, this zone is too. These were in Switzerland. There's one with the rather crudely forged half-lap joints. Some beautiful, heavy balcony scroll braces. I like the oval shape whenever I can use it. It's so much better than a square or a round. This was a very formidable protective grill. Very heavy door hinges. Nice little touch with a double pierced bar. close together. A little finial on a gate. I'm very careful passing through there. I think this is where I was headed for a museum to meet friends, and there were so many fascinating door grills along the way, I never got to the museum. Yeah, this is in Scandinavia. How elaborate they did their work. Rather formal railing. Yeah, you can see this one painted white and not afraid of color. Oh, that's one of the most elaborate gates I ever saw anywhere. So here I am back at the forge. Again, those scrolls in the center were jump welded on. Very skillfully done. Very nice finial.
He's the village blacksmith, but he has never made a horseshoe. Whitaker is an artist who crafts iron.
The first time I got hold of a piece of hot iron on an anvil, I knew that was what I wanted to do.
The first time was 1922. At age 80, with hands too dirty to get clean anymore, he is still grabbing the hot iron from the forge.
There's a fascination in taking the stubborn material and shaping it to your will. The quality that iron has that other materials do not have is its strength and its potential for beauty. And it's up to the smith to bring out that beauty.
Whitaker's decorative work can be found around the world, but it's most prevalent in Aspen, Colorado, where he has worked for a quarter of a century. The town's Victorian architecture is an ideal setting for the artistry of this blacksmith. His work is so popular, people stop him on the street to talk business.
I was wondering about these cattle code and this fundamental work here.
How many?
50? Well, one would be enough. I'm trying to figure out.
50, I won't live that long.
Still, at 7:30 every morning, he's back at his Mountain Forge shop. For the last 15 years, Whitaker has spent a lot of time passing on his knowledge and skills to other blacksmiths. But don't let the grandfatherly face fool you. He's from the old school and demands perfection and hard work.
If you don't have the pride in your workmanship, you're not going to do your best work. And you're not going to get to the top.
Whitaker says he's disappointed that he has not found a young blacksmith with the same pride and desire he has to join him at the top, to take over the business when he retires. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Aspen, Colorado.